Alright, welcome to the video. There's been a lot of updates, so I kind of gotta talk about it so that you guys don't get too confused when you're using my spreadsheet. So, first off, let's just start by inputting the basic information. Say we have a product, you have a product order number, let's just say it's 1. And then for our description, we'll just say insert name here. I don't have a name in mind. You're printing one item. Let's say your item has like just one part. I don't know. That's fine. Then your print is gonna take only an hour, let's say. So you'll see that your print time here is 1, and your estimated time here is 1. If you change this quantity to 2, it'll double. If you change it to 3, it'll triple, and so on and so forth. So, oops, gotta keep that as 1. So currently it's 1, and then you have this section here where you can choose like however many colors you want. Currently available to you, you can choose like 2 different colors, but if you go over here and click this, you'll have access to 8 colors for a single print. Kind of overkill, but customer kind of requested it, so I did it. So that's that. You can go ahead and just hide this by just highlighting up here all the way from K to V, like the yellow right here, and then you can right click, go down here, hide, and then everything is nice and condensed. So moving on, let's say you want to use PLA or black, so you use the drop down menu, choose standard. Let's say we're just using 1,000 grams for this, just why not. So as you can see over here, we see it counts more or less like the number of colors used. So right now we've only used 1 color, which is the black PLA, but if we go over here and we choose a black, well, let's just say special or red ESOC, and then you put in a number here also, boom, you've used 2 colors, so it's able to recognize however many colors you're doing, and that'll also translate to the other 8 color options that you get if you unlock this area. So that's that. And then as you can see here, you can see the total weight, so you have 1,000, and then right here you would expect like 2,000, right? But we have an efficiency factor for the material, so right now it's delegating like an extra 10% is going to be used during the print. You can change this to 1 if your system doesn't waste any material, but most people probably leave it at an extra 10% buffer. So that'll be that. Then right here you can choose like your main material type. This is kind of optional. It only really applies for like when you're checking if you're using like this or this section. Not really important, so you can skip that, but more or less you can just like click this to basically check off if you've completed your print, and that number will be reflected over here in the number of prints completed section. Since we have both our estimated time and then our material that our print's going to be using, we can probably skip over to this section here. So this section calculates the material cost and your electrical cost, and then it takes that into account when you're subtracting from however much you're pricing your items. So since we got that out of the way, we can probably go into actually like pricing our items. So right here we have multiple different options. So we can either do standard, special, discount, personal, sample, benchmark, and then the newest edition, which is mat cost plus margin percentage. For context, the standard pricing can be can be controlled by going to this section up here. So right here we have the pricing rate, the setup cost, cost per hour, and then price per print for if you're like printing like multiple parts and you want to tack on an extra 25 cents for every part that's printed on like a single print bed. If we go back to the setup cost, that's more or less your labor cost. So it's the base cost. So let's say you're printing one item. Actually, instead of me just talking about it, I'll just show it. So we go over to this section, the price rate. We hit standard. So right now the base quote is $3.75. If I change the setup cost to 0, the base quote will be $1.25. And how long has this print been going for? An hour. And how much does it cost print per hour? It's $1.25. So that's what you see there. If we put in our setup cost at 2.5, it'll increase that value by 2.5. Yeah. And then the same logic applies to the special. The special rates being I'll change that setup to 0. The special filament is 2.25 per hour. So as you can see, the base quote is $2.25, and then you can more or less just change between those two. So that's that. I'll just change that to 5 for a nice round number. So yeah, if we go back to like discount, personal, and sample, these kind of ignore the things that I mentioned before about standard and special, because it doesn't take into account this information right here. So if you choose any one of these, then you're not gonna have a base quote for either discount, personal, or benchmark, because that's just not for pricing. If we go to a material cost plus margin, it's more or less just going to take the material cost. So as we can see, it's $11.08. So that will become our base quote, and then from there you can go to this column right here, and then you can factor in like a profit margin. So if you want like a profit margin of 10, 20, or 10 through 70, you can choose any one of those. I'll choose 50 right now. So $11.08 with the 50% margin is $22.17. So yeah, that makes sense. If you want to check for like what your potential profit margin or what your potential final quote would be, you could go to this section up here and put in your product order number, and then all of this information from your order is just going to be displayed in a nice and condensed format. So this section will have your quantity. Quantity is 1, which makes sense. Our print time is an hour, which also makes sense. Material usage, 1.1 K. Yeah. Material type, PLA. Our pricing rate, we're using the mat cost plus margin percentage, and then we have our base quote, which is that. That makes sense. Our material cost is 11. That also corresponds. Yeah, so we more or less have all of our information filled out for the print. So we can go over here and check out our shipping costs. So let's say we want to have $5.50 as our shipping. You can just input that value right here, and then if you want to apply that shipping cost to the final quote, you can just hit this checkbox, and as you can see, the final quote is now $27.63. If I uncheck it, it's $22.17. And yeah, since we're already over here, we can go to the this section. It's not really that important. This is just if you want to make notes for like the customer, or you can go to this section and put any print settings if you're like trying to keep track of your settings change. You can check that out there. Yeah, that's more or less that part. So that concludes explanation for the first spreadsheet. There's going to be 2 more videos. I'll walk you guys through that as well, so stay tuned. See you in the next video.